I've got a good one for you today, guys. I was able to get Ben Dean on the show in order to do an interview with him, and I reached out in the community tab here on the channel so that you guys could get some of your questions in. Now, some of the questions he couldn't answer because simply the answer isn't available at this time, or it's not his department, what have you. So those questions have been omitted from this interview just to keep everything nice and clean. So let's get started and let's hear Mr. Ben Dean, producer of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, in my interview with him. Here we go. Mr. Ben Dean, you're the producer, Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, there at Visionary Realms. If you wouldn't mind, just for people who maybe don't understand kind of the impact overall that you have, could you explain your role or your roles, since we know you probably wear multiple hats?
Yeah, well, we all do. We all try to fill in the blanks where we can. So as project producer, I tend to help out with the high-level planning and that sort of thing. I'll help out with the roadmaps, just sort of help set goals and milestones, and then just make sure that the production team has everything that they need and that the other teams have everything that they need, and make sure that people are communicating as best as possible. And that's kind of the high-level summary of the project producer role. My other hat is director of communications, which is a lot of basically all of the marketing and PR along with my team. Okay,
awesome. Would you also say that you have to also be a bean keeper as one of your roles?
Yeah, it's a rare profession, but I'm one of the few certified in the world.
I agree. Okay. I think today, since I got you on here, it'd be a great opportunity for me to just out front, I just want to apologize for inadvertently giving you that nickname of Ben No Beans Dean.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's awesome. What's particularly funny is that my own social circle, like my close friends, have actually started calling me that now, too.
No.
So it's affected me in many ways, Nathan.
I apologize for that.
It's all good.
Now, if you'd like to break that stigma today, I'm all ears. So no pressure, but
the true motivations come out. I see what's going on.
But in all seriousness, with the pre-alpha 5 shakeouts out of the way, I'm sure you guys have poured over a lot of details and data and things like that. I had someone from the community, Gulo, who actually asked a really good question. He wanted me to ask you, was there anything that really shocked you guys about on the team, or things you got, or things people did in the shakeout or didn't do? Was there anything really stood out about that?
I'd like to say yes, but we weren't prepared for the issues that we ended up having with the login servers. I shouldn't say we weren't prepared. We weren't expecting it.
Right.
We were expecting some sort of issues with getting people in game, but we hadn't dusted those systems off for a while, so we're expecting something to happen. I just don't think we were fully expecting what happened to happen, but
right.
But luckily it had. I mean, I hate to say it had minimal impact, because for those that it did impact, it sucked they couldn't get in. But overall, it was less impact than something. So
yeah, and I want to say too how quickly you guys fixed that issue too. It was like a few minutes.
Yeah, well, yeah. The tech team was. They were standing by. Like I shouldn't say just the tech team, the entire company was just kind of standing by, ready for anything to happen. So we were all kind of glued to our screens and just kind of monitoring everything. All right, what's going to happen? So we were prepared, and they were quite fast in response.
It was very impressive, actually, how quickly, because I was thinking, small team, we got this seems like a pretty major issue. I was like, this is going to throw their whole timetable off for the whole day. I was just like, man, that's really awful for them. And I'd also like to mention you guys gave us our time back at the end, so anybody got to log in a little later got that extra time at the end of it.
Yeah, we tried to make up for it. Actually, talking a little bit more about something else that stood out to me too, that was actually a shock, was the fact that no one had aggro.
Oh yeah.
And the way that sort of happened was on the account level. For our internal testers, you log in without aggro. It's just kind of the way that we test things.
Yeah.
But we just kind of forgot to flip that switch on for the tester level, like for the PA tester level. So everybody's logging in, and we're watching everybody walking around, just walking through all of the KOS mobs, and I'm like, something's wrong here. So we were trying to think, what can we do, sort of taking down the servers, fixing this and then sending it would have required a patch, and we try not to do that in between testing sessions, like, because we don't know what patches will necessarily break otherwise. So we're like, how else can we fix this? They have to be KOS. So Chris Perkins, he's like, I'm going in there, I'm just doing everybody manually. So he was like running around targeting people, manually making them aggro. The GMs, Mike and Jason Bolton and Dave Schlau, everybody got in there. I was like, all right, let's do this. I think Jimmy was in there. Oh, okay. Manually making everybody aggro.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I remember when it was turned on for me, because I was like, now the wolves started coming after me. I was like, oh snap, it's real now.
Yeah, I think a couple people kind of got away with not being aggro. Like, we tried to get everybody. I'm sure we missed some people, but
now I also want to say that I was in a group at one point. We got in a sticky situation that we couldn't get ourselves out of, or at least one of our guys in the party did. Joppa came and saved them and fixed the situation real quick. And that guy, for the rest of the time, was just melting over the fact that Joppa himself laid his hands on him in the game.
That's awesome. Yeah,
a lot of fun,
that reminds me of the first time that I sort of virtually met Brad McQuaid, and it was in Vanguard. It was during Friends and Family, and oh gosh, just so many years ago. I forget what the name of that big city was, but anyway, the first version of it was ready, and Brad was really excited, and he's like, just send me a tell and I will I'll summon you. So everybody that was on the server at the time just started sending him tells, and so I did the same thing, and he summoned me, and that was that I had the same kind of reaction. I'm like, I was just summoned by Brad McQuaid. it's kind of cool.
Yeah, very epic moments. But that's something cool about pre-alpha is you get this kind of, the VIP level gets a very, very intimate. Now, everybody involved in the project, I feel like you guys do a good job of being very active and knowing people in the community by name. But being a VIP, you do feel very intimate with the team, and I think that's very special for game development. Something you don't get normally.
It goes both ways though too. Like from our perspective, it's not normal that you get that amount of support that early in game development. So already having this kind of thriving community, I mean, and the community at large, there's something to be said about that too. I mean, like, we're extremely grateful for all of our community members, but it's also really nice to be able to interact with the VIPs on the level that we're able to, in the VIP Discord, and sometimes we try to get you involved in other conversations, the VIP roundtable and stuff like that. For us, it's really cool because it gives us kind of a cross section, people that are super into the game, that are super dedicated to the forums and in the community, and it gives us people to talk to that can often have a different perspective than we do. So it's I mean, we have fun with it too. So
yeah,
it really is to it.
Very awesome. Yeah. I see a lot of people in the community. Oftentimes they'll be trying to decide basically if the investment to get into pre-alpha is worth it. Of course, I believe it is, because like we just talked about, I mean, it's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see a project grow, especially your particular project, because let's be honest, this doesn't happen. You guys have really taken a big risk in making this kind of game, which is very niche, but also I think over the course of your development time has been proven it is something that a mass majority of people want, with games like WoW Classic, etc. All these classic throwback servers doing so well. But on the point of people who's trying to decide, like, is pre-alpha for them, that kind of thing, I think you get a great appreciation for the game after launch, even though you are testing and it's not a early access by any means. What's your advice on people who are thinking that?
That's really a great way to put it, because it really, you can't look at it as early access, because you're going to be hugely disappointed if you do. Yes, you do get access to the game, but it's not it's not a fully polished game. You're not getting in there. You're not keeping your characters. I mean, we do wipes between almost every session, if not every session, and it's a lot of testing. You know, we do try to, you know, we have fun too. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, there is testing involved. This upcoming session I mentioned in this past producer's letter is, or did I? I don't know. I don't think I mentioned it in the letter. But anyway, I sent out an email to the VIPs yesterday on what the testing focus would be for this next session, and it's NPC navigation and combat. And so really all we're looking for this next session is for people to get in there and try to break pathing, basically, you know, try to exploit mobs and see if they can. We're not really accepting any feedback apart from that. We're not looking at any feedback apart from that. Keep in mind, again, the reasoning for that is we do have a very small team. I say that a lot, but I have to in this case because we need to stay focused. You know, it's great to get that sort of feedback, but if we get so much feedback about everything all at once, it kind of muddies the waters. We only have so many eyes that can look at these reports at once, for one. Two, the game is still under development, and we're probably aware of a lot of the things that you're reporting that we're not asking you to report on. So we really do try to keep these kind of sessions focused. And for a lot of people, that might not be their cup of tea. They may not want that. They might just want early access. So my advice is, if you are contemplating the VIP pledge to get into pre-alpha, just to play the game, please don't. Please don't do that. If you are contemplating VIP status to get sort of a backstage pass, to be part of the discussions, to be in there testing, to be finding bugs, to be getting frustrated because you can't log in, if that kind of thing appeals to you, then yes, absolutely join.
Yeah.
But know what you're getting into. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I agree. And if that sounds fun to you to test early builds, and you know, I would say it is for you. If that's fun for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One more thing on that subject, because Pantheon is what it is, and the old school spirited kind of familiarity, that you kind of get this very specific group of people gathered around this early in the development, from what I can see. Very veteran MMO people. Is that good, or does that make it harder?
I don't know if there's a yes or no answer to that, or black and white. I don't know if the answer is black and white. True. Because there are good sides and there are downsides. Like, the good thing is that they're looking at it from a very experienced point of view. So a lot of their feedback will be very valid and very, very thought out. Conversely, they're looking at it from a very experienced MMO gamer point of view, which means they're not looking at it from a new player point of view. Part of Pantheon's desire or drive is to get a whole new generation interested in this type of game. We had fun when we were playing these classically spirited MMOs earlier on, years ago, decades ago for some of us, and we think that this next generation of gamer will enjoy it too. But you know, it's also a different generation, you know, so we have to take that into consideration. We have to be able to communicate with them on next generation level. So anyway, it's a bit of both. It's good and it's bad, but it's largely good. I mean, I love the fact that we can jump into the Discord channel or onto the forums and have very, very, very in-depth conversations. Sometimes we just look at the forums or Discord, and the conversations are happening there that we didn't even think about. And it's like, oh, wow, I'm glad somebody brought this up now, because we hadn't thought about that. So, yeah, there's lots of positives there.
Yeah. One quick question for you. They got to ask, can you really freestyle rap as good as you did that one time against Joppa and Roenick on my channel?
Oh, you know, I hate to ruin this image, but that was actually lip syncing. I didn't write that.
Okay.
My Fair secret's enough. Out.
Fair enough. It is what it is. You gotta do what you gotta do. I understand. So, is there a certain class that you guys are kind of terrified of, or the repercussions of its abilities, or anything you're worried will be hard to balance? Anything?
That's terrified of a class. I don't think so. Some classes are more complex than others. Particularly, like we're wrestling right now with with things like the summoner, just in terms of what it means from a systems point of view, and implementation is more difficult than something, you know, that's flat out melee, for instance. But in terms of balance, no, I wouldn't say there's anything that terrifies us. Balance is a tricky thing though, because sometimes balance can ruin the game. Sometimes having trying to make sure that all classes are equal can ruin a game. We're aware of that, and that's something that we take seriously, so it's always under consideration.
Yeah, and the more complicated systems are sometimes, like EverQuest, for example, had a wide array of crazy amounts of different things you could do. People end up using tools obviously in ways the developers never even thought of, and it's probably that's why I asked it, because I know I think of that a lot, right, with D&D or looking at EverQuest abilities and Pantheon, and I'm just like, man, that's terrifying as a developer, right? Like,
well, yeah, yes and no. Like, emergent gameplay is something that we're actually striving for, which may make us crazy, but I think it's cool. We think it's cool in general. The thing about emergent gameplay is that, as you said, with some developers are afraid of it because it means that people aren't doing what you planned on them doing. It's kind of venturing into the unknown, and generally speaking, a lot of people are uncomfortable with the unknown, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with sort of losing control, so to speak. And I get that, particularly over a game that you've been slaving for years. All of that being said, emergent gameplay is what we want. We want people to try things and to figure things out that we didn't think about. And we don't want to squash that. Obviously, if something proves to be, an exploit and severely overpowered, we're going to have to do something about it.
Right.
But for the most part, if people are figuring out things that we didn't necessarily intend, I say we empower them. If they're enjoying that, why would we take that fun away?
Yeah, and it creates a lot of memories too. The first time I saw somebody charm a guard and use it to fight, and then he started fighting the other guards in EverQuest, and then he slipped right through their defenses, and I was like, geez, that guy's a genius. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. And it was just some random thing I saw some random guy do. Or, in my opinion, one of the more epic unexpected moments was when Ultima Online, when the developer decided, he did his little meetings where he'd come in his character, Lord British, and address the people, and he forgot to turn God mode on, and a guy shot him and killed him.
Yeah.
they had to roll with the punches, Lord British died that day. So, emergent gameplay is amazing. I just always look at it and try to think from developers. I'm like, man, that is terrifying.
Yeah, another example that went sort of a different way and then sort of recovered is killing of the sleeper in EverQuest.
True.
That was never intended, and the first time that it was done, a GM was sort of panicked, and they're like, they're not supposed to kill this, so despawn the sleeper. And it's like, wow, that's I'm sure in hindsight they're like, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. But yeah, anyway, I think it was still SOE at the time. Yeah, it had to have been. They made up for it, like they respawned it later, and just allowed everybody to have another go. But that's the kind of thing, and that's memorable. I mean, to this day, that was probably, to many of us, still the most epic, memorable experience of EverQuest, is the day that we took down something that was never intended to be taken down. I mean, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I want to see that in Pantheon. I want to see, the day that that we killed a celestial that was never intended to be killed, or something like that.
Yeah,
it'd be pretty cool.
And that's how players get infamous, doing some crazy feats, or really just figuring out a way to use the system available to them to do some crazy things. And I also want to mention that no matter how hard developers try, no matter even the crazy big teams, like World of Warcraft, for example, one of the largest teams I'm aware of in MMO space, they had that incident with it was a raid fight, and he gave everybody this plague that would spread if you got too close to other people. And people figured out to take that real quick back to a major city, Stormwind, and give it to everybody. And they wiped the server with that. So
I'm really anxious to see some of the things that get discovered along the way. It's going to be fun.
It really is. Looking forward to it. But I like that answer too, giving people that ability, and not necessarily. I'm trying to keep it from breaking the entire game, but allowing people that gameplay is good, I think.
I think the key is not to knee-jerk react when stuff like that happens. I think if you can keep a level head as a developer, if you can keep a level head when something happens that isn't supposed to happen, just think about it. Just say, okay, what does this mean? and is it cool?
Right. Was it fun? Yeah. What would you define as a successful pre-alpha 5?
Getting to our goals. I mean, if we're able to, we are going to get to Pantheon to where it needs to be. But if we can do that in a fun and memorable fashion, and if we're able to get everybody as involved as we want, or as we want them to be involved, then I think we're going to be successful. What I don't want, so just to recap a little bit, but pre-alpha 5, the goal is to get a playable experience from level 1 to 50. Multiple zones, all the classes, lots of content, and have a full progression from 1 to 50. Now, so to me, a successful pre-alpha 5 would be getting all of our goals accomplished. So for pre-alpha 5, we want a playable full experience. It's not going to be content complete, but we want to have levels 1 to 50 fully playable, all of the classes fully playable, and storylines, arcs, multiple zones, equipment, all of that to sort of give a smaller, condensed version of Pantheon. Now, we're going to reach that regardless, but I think one of the success factors is if people have fun along the way. To me, that would be hugely successful. I'm super excited. We're all of us at Visionary Realms are super excited for this phase, and I think we're going to have fun. But I think by the end of it, when we look back, I think we're probably going to say, you know what, that was successful in that we had a good time from start to end, and we identified a lot of things that we didn't think of, and we were able to fix them thanks to the rapid iteration that we're doing now, and thanks to the feedback and the bug reporting that the VIP testers are able to do. All of those components would make me say, yeah, we had a successful PA5. But if you're just going to, the TLDR is getting that compressed version of Pantheon ready to play.
Yeah, awesome. I think you also answered my next question, which is what's considered finished with pre-alpha 5. So I think that pretty much answered it. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now I do need to sort of call this out too. When it comes to art, the art pipeline is a little bit different. So some zones, primarily, I said this somewhere yesterday too. Primarily, the parts of Fair Fail are artistically more progressed than the rest of the game. So there's still a lot of gray boxing. That's still going to be true for right up till the end of PA5. However, we do have plans on when to introduce new artists and how to do that, and so that will be taking place during pre-alpha 5. So you are going to see improvements, but it's not going to be launch ready by the end of pre-alpha 5. The intent is that we get it to a larger audience ready. Still say it's not done yet visually, but it's looking better than some of the areas that we have right now.
Yeah, and as we advance further through phases, once we go into actually like alpha, etc., obviously the audience gets larger that comes in. Does that help a lot with testing server, or is server capability not even really an issue?
Well, here's the thing too. I'm glad you bring up that question, because I was thinking about this yesterday. One of our goals overall is recently we stated that we want to improve communications, and so one of the things that I was thinking about yesterday is along those lines. Somebody asked, are there going to be any more long periods where we go in the dark? And my immediate answer was no, not really planned. But then I thought about it a little bit more, and I'm like, I don't want to say that either, because we're not going to go into great long periods of darkness. Like, let me start with that. But we still have to do a big amount of work on the network libraries. Now, we have that technology. In fact, it's incredible technology that people have been asking us about, like outside studios have been asking about licensing and that sort of thing, because we have some amazing tech that nobody else has access to, because it's homegrown. But all of that still has to be implemented, and we know that. So that's kind of our Achilles heel right now. If we had one, is that we know that we have to put the work into this network library, which handles stuff like, I'm using industry terms, but that's the kind of thing that is able to handle the server load. So there's a big chunk of that still needs to be done. And once that's done, it's theoretically possible to have, hundreds of thousands of collision-enabled objects in the world, which again is a lot of industry jargon. But what it means is that technologically, it's pretty freaking cool. We can have a lot of people in. We can have a lot of things happening that aren't seen in a lot of MMOs and online games. So at some point, once this network library is fully implemented and we have this power, server load isn't going to be that big of an issue. It will still take some consideration, and there's a lot of variables to it, so I can't say it's not going to be a problem at all, but it's not going to be the kind of problem that it was even 5 years ago, and definitely not the kinds of problems I was facing 10 years ago or in some cases 20 years ago.
Right.
It's exciting tech. It's just we still have to get it implemented yet.
Sounds very awesome, though. Sounds like you guys can do a lot of things once that's fully implemented. Here's one that I'm only asking because with the producer's letter, it seemed this way, right? And I know things can change, etc. Nobody can read the future, right? But is it highly likely that PreAlpha 5 is the final PreAlpha?
Okay, so to be completely candid here, we were always planning on PreAlpha 5 to be the final. Right. We've been saying that for years. That was always a plan, and we want to stick to that plan. That being said, PreAlpha 5 is as I explained as well in that producer's letter, PreAlpha 5 is a series of sessions. It's a period of time. Other PreAlpha 5 or PreAlpha sessions were shorter. They're kind of like bursts. Like we had a few days on or a week on or whatever it was. This is going to be expanding over several months. And after now, the kind of how we kind of have it laid out now is that's going to take us to a certain point. So that's going to take us to this complete game or complete experience that I talked about earlier. There is a little bit of a gap there between that and alpha, because there's still a few things that need tweaking. So, you still have to consider, login systems. You still need to consider that network library that I was talking about. So there are considerations that you have to take place. Right now, the discussion internally is, do we call that PreAlpha 5 just because we said PreAlpha 5 was going to be the last phase? Right. Or do we call it something else? So I don't know. Maybe your audience can tell us what they would prefer to call that phase.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Long story short, though, there is work to be done between PreAlpha 5 and Alpha. It's like that South Park episode. Steal underwear ? Profit. We know it's not a big question mark. We know what needs to be done in that period. The question mark is, what do we call it? Do we call that PreAlpha 5 or do we call it something else?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. You guys have, at least in the industry, I've never heard it been used. Just don't forget, you've now coined that shakeout word, which is pretty nice and pretty self-explanatory. So if you got to use that again, I think that worked pretty well.
Well, anecdotally, I don't like it. We used it internally, and then we just kind of let it slip publicly, and it's like, why don't we just roll with it? But one of the things I don't like about it is that it's very, and I've seen it multiple times, but it's very easily misspelled or missaid as shakedown. And it's like, it's like, well, it's not a shakedown. We're not shaking anyone down here. We're trying to shake out the cobwebs. Anyway, so hindsight being what it is.
And from the community's perspective, it was kind of a shakeout for us, right? The game's been not in PreAlpha for a while, so it's kind of like getting back in motion and getting the rust knocked off of ourselves as well. So I think
stretching the legs.
Yeah. Everyone in the community, we want Visionary Realms to grow, and we want you guys to be super successful, so we can play Pantheon for the rest of our lives. So with that in mind, even though you've answered this multiple times, just to make it super clear, what does a good deal, something you guys would be interested in for a major investor or a publisher, that would be something you guys would be willing to accept?
This always comes down to if it's a good match. Now, we have spoken with investors and publishers since the get-go, and sometimes we get, I don't want to call them offers, but the conversation comes to the table and we start negotiating what a relationship between the partners would look like. And we've turned down a lot of partnerships. And the reason being is because first and foremost, there's multiple reasons to turn it down, but first and foremost, we need to make the game that we want to make. We have a very clear vision, and sometimes that just doesn't match up with potential partners, what they want to do, and that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just not a match. So the most important thing for us is to find the right match, and we do that all the way down to the investor level. We have a few angel investors right now, and all of those people are wonderful people that match the goals of Pantheon.
Beautiful. Couldn't say it any better than that. All right, well, how hard is it for you to be on the inside, right, and know things and want to talk about it, but you have to bite your tongue for the better of the game? What does that feel like?
It's really hard. It is. It's because there's stuff that happens and we get so incredibly excited about. It's kind of funny too, because doing marketing and PR, when I see something in game, I not only do I get excited about what it means, but I'm like, I want to show this to everybody.
Yeah.
And I get super excited and I get very eager, and then sometimes I jump the gun a little bit, and then somebody in dev or elsewhere will be like, no, we can't show this yet. We gotta wait, just wait a little bit longer. So I'm always trying to push to get stuff shown earlier than sometimes is necessarily advisable. So it's kind of a running gag right now, is that I keep pushing to show stuff when they're right. Like the some of the people that are like, what, Ben, no, we shouldn't do this. They're right. We should just wait a little bit longer just to show it in the right light. To show what it really is supposed to be, and not just because when you're working on something so closely, you can sort of understand and see the concepts and see where it's going, but that doesn't mean everybody else will be able to. So you have to look at it somewhat objectively, and it's tough to do sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the perks of being a content creator, is we get to make something and release it. Like bam, it's out there. So I think about that all the time when I'm really excited about puppet video or whatever. How quickly I get to release it. I'm like, there's so many things they know internally as they're developing, and they're probably so psyched. And when you guys do announce big things, we can see it. We can see how excited you guys are to finally get to talk about something, it's amazing stuff. Selflessly, of course, I gotta ask, if you want me to carry some of your burden for you on holding all those beans, so you just let me know. I'm always here for you, okay?
Sure, I'll send you a lentil.
So is it nail biting when you guys open up the server and people start pouring in at the beginning of a pre-alpha? What does that feel like?
I don't know if nail biting is the right word. It's a lot of excitement. I don't know. Maybe I just interpret nail biting as we don't know what's going to happen. We usually have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen.
Okay.
It's nail biting when something we didn't expect to happen happens. But when the servers come up, in fact, it's kind of a fun thing that we do. It's just a fun thing. It's like you set up for this party, and then the guests start arriving. So a lot of us are logged into the realms before they're opened up to the public, and we're in there for like an hour, sometimes 2 hours before, just kind of running around, chatting. And when the servers are scheduled to come up, we all kind of go invisible and we run to the spawn points. we just wait to see who logs in first, and then once people start logging in, then we say, oh, so and so is in first, oh, so and so is in second, oh, we got 13 people, oh, we got 25 people now. So it's fun. It's fun.
Awesome. You guys have to kind of get a feeling like a ultimate dungeon master kind of feeling when the campaign begins. Like, here it is, we built this, and now the stories are about to be told. Is that fair to say? You guys are like ultimate dungeon master?
Yeah. Just again, camping out and seeing if people will discover some of the secrets that were put in there. And I'm gonna be honest here. There's a lot that I don't know in the game, and when I discover something cool, I have to ping the content creators. I'm like, this is pretty cool. And it's the same thing, so when people come in, sometimes we'll just go to areas and just kind of wait to see who discovers it first, or if it's discovered at all. I think somebody found I don't think. I know some people found some of the climbing gear that was hidden around in PreAlpha 5 Shakeout.
Yeah.
We didn't mention anything about those, and maybe Chris is gonna, scold me for revealing too much here. But there's more. They're hidden all over the place in that build, and then people found a couple, but not. The full set was never discovered, so it's kind of interesting to watch that and see if people come across the content or not.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't want to say the scenario because of NDA, but I was pointed at something really cool and unexpected in the game by another player, and it was super amazing. But yeah, I admit, that was kind of the joy. You were testing, but you were looking for things too, right? You were constantly like keeping your eyes peeled and realizing that there were eggs, Easter eggs all over the place. Very cool though. That's kind of to be this early, especially for that particular zone or zones, it was really cool that there's a lot of love and detail there. I think that was my main takeaway, is a lot of love and detail built into the world.
It's good to hear that. It's good to hear that it shows, because those guys, I can't say enough, but the designers and then the programmers, everybody just sitting in there. Tim Wathen, sometimes he works in a little bit of a different time zone than some of the others, but it's nice to see him put up in our internal chat channels. He's like, you know what, Club VR is open, and what that means is that what our staff only Discord server is open for business. So a few people jump in there and just chat while placing objects and designing stuff, putting stuff in game, doing the actual implementation storylines and whatever it is that their job is for the day, or in the artist's case, doing art for the game. But it's cool, and seeing and hearing that is paying off, that those thoughtful, lovingly placed things are actually being noticed. I'm sure they're gonna love to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. So I got a few questions for the community. We're going to try to shoot through these real quick so I can give you the rest of your day back. Nailnack asked, are there any plans for PvP, such as duels, at some point to be tested in PreAlpha 5?
No, not during PreAlpha 5. No.
Gotcha. Okay. And I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask for his sake. At one point, contested zones or something of that matter was kind of lightly discussed, but definitely not promised. Is that something that seemed like to me something when it was mentioned that was like a post-launch goal? Is that fair enough?
Yeah, it's not in the scope right now.
Yeah. It was even mentioned in a way to say, like, look, this is probably like a later on kind of thing. But Jason had asked, are all of the classes going to be available at some point in PreAlpha 5?
Yes.
Does that include Bard and Necro?
No. Oh man, those bars and necros. Let's get the game. Let's get the core game done.
Right, I agree.
And then let's talk about I love those two classes, but
that'll be a fun thing. See, I look at it like this: Bard and Necro will be a fun thing that we know there's two more cool classes coming sometime after launch. You know what I mean? That's good to have too. Know there's something really cool coming. Listen, so is there any plans for a raid encounter of some sort once we get towards the end of PreAlpha 5?
There has to be a raid in that build. That's one of the things that we need to do, particularly when we ship it off to potential partners. That being said, I can't say definitely that it will be available during PreAlpha 5 for VIP testers, but I think the likelihood is good.
And if it ended up being internal testing only kind of thing, would that be something you would show us snippets of, or
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'll explain the reason for it. It's one of those things that we know with our resource budget and everything, we know that we're going to be, I mean, it's not going to be anemic or anything, but we're going to be somewhat limited on the amount of raids that we can do for launch. And we don't want everybody to know everything about it prior to launch, that just really kills the fun. So it's one of those things that we're trying to play close to the chest, but it's
that is,
so I don't have
one.
yeah, I can't answer that definitively saying yes or no that you'll be able to play in PA5. It does need testing is the thing, so
yeah,
we still have to figure that out.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard one to do. I always thought about that. Like, how do you test a raid when that's the end game and that's what you want people to do for a ridiculous amount of time? So, totally understand. Mr. Snarky McSnarkface had asked, will summoners include their pets in PreAlpha 5 to test the pet mechanics?
Well, that's pretty snarky of them to ask. Will summoners include their pets? Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so. It's again, full disclosure here, the pet system is probably the most complicated part of the abilities integration. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that it is the plan. I mean, what's a summoner without pets?
exactly.
So yeah, we are working on it. Should be in there.
Awesome. With the class changes and ability changes, at least from the front-loading view of checking out the website, did you guys do this mainly for clarity? Like, as in, when you're checking out the class pages, right, and the ability lists on the website are different now, right? Was that for clarity to kind of say these are the abilities that really make that class what that class is? There's some kind of simplification done or for more of a design philosophy?
Yeah, a little bit of both. We took a look at the old list. Some of those had changed. If they had, it wasn't drastic. I think a couple were removed. Neither one of them were a full list to begin with. So what's on there now, I think it even says on those pages, not a complete list.
Yeah.
But it was just to kind of give the flavor of the class. There's still some internal debate if we release the full list of abilities or not prior to launch. I don't think we should, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I agree. Leave some mystery there, right?
Yeah.
I think I've pored over those over and over again, and that was always my takeaways. This is a very good definition. Like, what is the cleric? It's this, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, there's more, but this gives us a very clear picture of what that class is.
Yep.
So it's good enough for you to make a decision, on what you want to play, and I think that's kind of,
that's the goal.
The intention, right?
Yeah.
So have you or your team been impacted by the pandemic? Has it affected development?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've been impacted. I don't like. It certainly wasn't good for us. But that being said, I want to be tactful about this. It was good that we were already in a way prepared for it. We've always been mostly been working remotely.
Mm-hmm.
So we already had the infrastructure in place. We already had the pipelines in place and the policies and procedures in place. A lot of companies didn't. So in that way, we were fortunate that we could keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we were impacted. I mean, we can't see each other. I mean, we can do like everybody else and do Zoom, but we can't, and we can't go to conventions. That's really sad. I love going to gaming conventions. Those who live locally to the office, they haven't been going into the office to meet every week. They just do it remotely now too, which is kind of sad because it was a nice little break to get into the office and see everybody face to face. But so yeah, there's been some sacrifices, but again, I think they're pretty minimal compared to what's the kind of sacrifices that other people have had to make.
You guys are in a good position to continue forward as planned, at least, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Pack Attack 74 wanted me to ask if he can expect some wizard hats to be in PreAlpha 5.
Probably not.
How often or what plans do you guys have for streaming or pre-recorded content for PreAlpha 5? Because you said you were going to keep everybody in the loop. I think that's what they meant. Is that once a month we'll see a little...
Yeah. Well, so we're still doing our streams once a month. I think now that we're in PreAlpha 5, it's going to be a lot easier to show stuff now. Prior to this, some of the streams were a little bit more difficult because we had to do some of those streams based on concepts or things like that as we're doing doing some of the recoding work. But now that the game is up and running as it should be, it's probably going to be easier to stream them. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, cool.
I don't want to promise and say every month we're going to show something in game, but it's theoretically possible.
Right. If there's substantial things,
Yeah.
right. Now, I swear I did not make this question. Okay, it's public on my community forum. I did not make this question, but
That's exactly what someone who made the question would say.
He really did ask. I swear. Can content creators be allowed to live stream at some point during pre-alpha 5?
Yes, of course.
Oh, that's exciting. Not because I asked that question.
Yeah, I mean, the exact details I haven't quite figured out yet. But there's no reason not to. Now, it's going to be limited. I can't say it's going to be just ad hoc. Anybody can just start streaming it. It is going to require permissions, and for that we're probably going to look primarily at the community leaders for multiple reasons, but mainly because you guys have been, you've earned your keep. I mean, you've been helping us all along. You've been helping the community all along. You've been putting in your time. There's no reason why we can't get some of you guys streaming.
Beautiful, man. That's exciting news. So 6543 Dan wanted me to ask, have you all tested internally playing without headsets for those who enjoy the old school chat approach?
Oh, as in typing? Yeah, I don't think it was a deliberate test session. I can't really speak for QA though. I mean, QA has their own agendas, and they may have. I'm just speaking from personal experience, but yeah, I have played it text only. Some of the functionality isn't quite there. Tells are working. Group chat is working. We don't have guilds in yet, and we don't have a raid chat in yet. But for the most part, yeah, we have tested out the chat channels, and the chat channel stuff that went under kind of a major revision around the Shakeout time as well. So
yeah,
between Shakeout 1 and Shakeout 2, there's quite a bit of revisions there to get it up to snuff a bit more too.
Yeah, I noticed that. And people go back and forth, right? Sometimes they use the chat, or at least I do, and then if it's more serious, or if it's a regular group session, they go to voice. And I think in all MMOs, I think even all MMOs, you kind of use both. And are you guys going to hold back some zones for full launch that we will not see, or even I'm not going to say we won't know about them, but we won't see them at all during all phases, pre-alpha 5, alpha, beta, things that you're going to leave completely for launch?
That's currently the plan, but it may change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Have you guys considered that paladins might need more than 2 race options?
I love this question because that's my class.
Me too.
That's my jam, man. Dwarf Pally for the win. I'm not going to speak to that because that's creative, and I don't want to stomp on creative's toes.
Heard that. All right. Is PvP something you guys are working on? Is that something in the works, or that you guys are still considering?
Yeah. There's a lot of passion for PvP in the team, but we also know that to do PvP, you have to, take PvP seriously. It's not something that you just want to tack on. So when we're ready to tackle that, then we'll put the amount of thought and planning into it that it deserves and needs. And right now, that's not right now, but when we're ready, that's what we intend to do, is really focus on it.
Yeah, because it's more complicated than just saying, okay, PvP's turned on, there you go, guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But we did have PvP, and you just had to shift click somebody, and then you could start attacking them.
Oh,
once people figured that out. Yeah, it was kind of fun. But there's no balancing or anything. There's no considerations to anything. It was just you can attack the other person.
I got you.
Good times.
How many pre-alpha sessions would you say we have to go through until Paladin is playable?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. I don't know where creative has them slotted offhand. I know that the Rogue and Wizard are coming up for this next one. I'd have to refer back to the schedule to see when Paladins are coming in.
Is it super far away?
I don't think. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. I'm surprised I got an answer on that one. I thought that was definitely going to be one you were able to do.
Well, the thing is, again, I mean, I play a paladin. That's my jam, and so there is a bit of pressure for what pressure I can put on there.
Good. That's for us pallies. That's good to hear. We got a guy way up at the top pushing for us, guys. So Gypsy Jr. wanted me to ask, have you guys known for a long time that you would need larger investors, or was the plan originally to try to do the game just from crowdfunding and smaller angel investors, or is that even still possible to do that?
Well, it's a flexible approach is what we're doing. So we always considered investors and publishers. There wasn't a time when we didn't consider that. In fact, even in the early days, we were talking to potential investors and publishers, as we still are now. And some of those investors have invested. And some of the publishers, I think we mentioned earlier today too, it wasn't the right time. So that being said, if we could solely crowdfund, we would. So if that happens, if we somehow get to that point where crowdfunding, let me put it this way, crowdfunding at the rate that it is now and has been, it will get the game launched. It will take considerable more amount of time than it would if we had a quicker injection of, from a publisher or a major investor. So, I mean, take that as you will, but I would rather get the game done quicker without sacrificing our integrity, and make the game that we have always intended to make, which is, there's no question that's the way that we're going to go. So it's just about finding the right partner to do that. But yeah, it was always a mix, and it was always planned to be a mix, and whatever gets us there sooner, that without sacrificing our goals is the answer.
And is it fair to say that crowdfunding this game allowed you guys the ability to be pickier about the publisher or major investor? Because
I mean, unless we had started with a large sum of money independently somehow, I certainly didn't have that much money going in. But yeah, no, absolutely, this was it's allowed us, it's given us the opportunity to negotiate. On many levels, like it's allowed us to continue operating, and it's also given us the opportunity to show potential partners how many people are interested. We can show them the numbers. We can say, look, this is how many people are donating X amount because they want to see this game. And it's pretty impressive to an external party seeing that many people that driven about a game that they're willing to put their own dollar on the line to see it happen. So so it's a strong argument.
Yeah, I agree. So this is a good question because of the recent producer's letter. What safeguards would you guys say that you have in place to avoid issues that older MMOs seem to have, where they're kind of stiff, they're kind of coded into a wall, where there's these really ancient old bugs, decades old, that there's nothing they can do. I think that maybe is due to hard coding in or something like that, I would assume. But do you guys was that part of the reason for the recoding, is so that you didn't code yourself into walls on things like that?
Well, yes, but I want to be clear about this too. The stages that we went through it's not like it's an uncommon thing. When you make a game, you typically do a very hard-coded version of it, and then once you're sure that that's the direction you want to go, then you start doing it properly. With us, there's a lot of variables there. We had to get the right staff on before we could start that sort of thing. We had to make sure the resources were there. So I don't want this to be under the impression that we just all of a sudden realized, oh my God, we don't know what we're doing. It wasn't really like that. Going in, we knew that this stuff was going to have to be replaced at some point, and we just kind of got to the point where it's like, if we keep continuing and we're just digging this hole deeper and deeper, let's just do it now. Let's just do this the right way now. So yeah, that's and that's going to help us in stuff like that. Now we're not coding ourselves into a corner anymore. That was the whole purpose that we got out of it, so that we didn't have to face those really hard to fix bugs, but also impossible to expand, and very hard to get new programmers in to figure out what the heck is going on in the code. We fixed all of that stuff. So
yeah, and that was the way some really older games were made entirely that way, because that was how things used to be done. So
yeah, if you go way back,
yeah, because I've seen remakes of games where like we had to redo the entire thing. It was
it
was a disaster. A couple more questions because I've taken up way too much of your time today. Is Kip M wanted me to ask, is VR trying to include full ability lists for progress to the appropriate level as each class is added to pre-alpha? So I think what he's asking is we know that there's some abilities you wouldn't naturally get. You'd maybe have to go on a quest line that maybe the quest isn't available, but are you guys going to test those abilities too in pre-alpha 5?
Oh yeah. No, they will be tested. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. And Jetly Inferno, final question, wanted me to ask, do you think we will see some underwater zones or underwater combat in pre-alpha 5?
Not likely.
All right, my wife will be happy. She hates swimming in MMOs. All right.
I mean, there'll be water that you can swim in, but yeah, don't expect like a kedge keep or anything like that.
Right. Okay. Well, Mr. Ben, I really appreciate your time today. I know you got some. I'll let you go, but I really appreciate you coming on, and I know this was really informative, and I really appreciate you taking out the time to talk with me.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I'm glad we got the chance.
Yeah, me too. And if you ever need anything from me, let me know. I'm here to help any way I can. Okay.
Oh, I appreciate it, dude. Really.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ben.
All right. Have a good one.
All right. You too. Please listen to what I say. I've been making videos all day. It's a video buffet. You can even hit replay. But please just subscribe. I can't even describe being part of my tribe. I'll even offer you a prize. But please just subscribe. And hit the bell notification too.